wasn't supposed to be at the Galante wedding. My best friend Lily had begged me for weeks. "Just come," she'd said, eyes pleading over coffee in our tiny shared apartment. "You've been hiding since the breakup. One night, one dress, one glass of champagne." So I'd said yes. Now I stood in the grand ballroom of the Aurelia estate, surrounded by marble columns and crystal chandeliers that cost more than my yearly salary, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. The guests were polished and beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. The men wore tailored suits that looked like weapons. The women glittered like knives. I smoothed down the simple black dress Lily had lent me and tried not to feel like an imposter. "Relax," Lily whispered beside me, champagne already in hand. "No one's looking at you." But she was wrong. Someone was. I felt it like heat on my skin, a gaze that didn't waver. I scanned the crowd instinctively, searching for the source, but the room was too full, too bright, too overwhelming. "Dance with me." I turned to find a man smiling at me, tall, clean-cut, with an easy charm that felt safe. His name was Marco. Lily had introduced us earlier. He worked in finance, he'd said, harmless. "I don't really..." "One song," he promised, already taking my hand. And because I didn't want to be rude, because I didn't want to stand alone in a room full of strangers, I let him lead me onto the dance floor. The music was soft and old-fashioned, the kind of song that made you sway rather than move. Marco's hand settled politely on my waist, and I tried to relax into the rhythm. "You're not from this world, are you?" he asked, voice low and curious. I blinked. "What world?" "This one." He gestured subtly around us. "The families, the power. You look untouched by it." I didn't know how to answer that. "Is that a bad thing?" I asked quietly. "No," he said, smiling. "It's rare." I was about to respond when the air in the room shifted. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But I felt it in my bones. A sudden, electric tension that made my pulse stutter. And then he was there. A man stepped onto the dance floor, moving with the kind of calm authority that parted the crowd without a word. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black suit that looked like it had been made for him alone. His dark hair was pushed back, his jaw sharp, his expression unreadable. But his eyes, God, his eyes, dark and endless and fixed entirely on me. Marco's hand tightened on my waist, just slightly. I felt him tense. The man stopped in front of us, close enough that I could see the faint scar along his left cheekbone, the coldness in his stare that made my breath catch. "Excuse me," he said. His voice was low, controlled, but it carried weight. The kind of voice you didn't argue with. Marco hesitated. "We're in the middle of..." I wasn't asking. The words were quiet, almost polite, but the danger beneath them was unmistakable. Marco's hand dropped from my waist immediately. I stood frozen, heart pounding, as the stranger stepped closer. He didn't touch me yet. He just looked at me, really looked at me, like he was memorizing every detail. "This song," he said softly, his gaze never leaving mine. "It's ours." I opened my mouth to say I didn't know him, that I'd never seen him before in my life, but he was already taking my hand. His palm was warm, rough, his grip firm but not painful. He pulled me gently into his arms, one hand settling at the small of my back, the other holding mine with a possessiveness that made my breath hitch. And then we were moving. He led with absolute confidence, guiding me through the music like he'd done this 1,000 times. I tried to find my voice, tried to ask who he was, what he wanted, but the words wouldn't come, because his hand on my back burned, because his eyes hadn't left mine, because the entire room seemed to be watching us now, and I didn't understand why. "I don't know you," I finally whispered. "No," he agreed quietly. "Not yet." "Then why?" "Because he shouldn't have touched you." My heart slammed against my ribs. "What?" His jaw tightened, just barely. "You don't belong to this world. You shouldn't be here." I was invited. "That doesn't make you safe." The words sent a chill down my spine. The song ended, but he didn't let me go. His hand remained on my back, his gaze still locked on mine, and I realized with a jolt of fear that I had no idea who this man was, or what he wanted from me. "Who are you?" I breathed. He leaned in, just slightly, his mouth close to my ear. Someone you should stay away from, he murmured, and then he was gone. He released me, stepped back, and disappeared into the crowd as smoothly as he'd appeared. I stood there, trembling, my heart racing, my skin still burning from where he'd touched me. Lily grabbed my arm a moment later, eyes wide. "Oh my God, do you know who that was?" I shook my head mutely. She stared at me like I'd just survived something fatal. "That was Dante Moretti," she whispered. "He owns half this city, and no one says no to him." I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in my small bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment over and over in my mind. His hand on my back, his voice in my ear, the way he'd looked at me like I was something fragile and dangerous all at once, someone you should stay away from. But he'd been the one to approach me. He'd been the one to cut in, to claim a song I'd never danced with him before. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was nothing. A powerful man amusing himself at a wedding. A moment of intensity that meant nothing to him and should mean nothing to me. I went to work my quiet job at a bookstore in the old part of the city and tried to forget. But I couldn't, because at noon, a car pulled up outside. It was sleek and black and far too expensive for this neighborhood. The kind of car that made people stop and stare. I watched through the store window as the driver stepped out, a tall man in a dark suit, and walked directly toward the entrance. My stomach dropped. He pushed open the door, the bell chiming softly, and his eyes found mine immediately. "Miss Amelia Frost?" I nodded slowly, my mouth dry. He held out a small envelope. "For you." I took it with shaking hands. He didn't wait for a response. He simply turned and left, the car pulling away moments later. I stared down at the envelope. Thick, cream-colored paper. No return address, just my name in elegant handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a single card. "Dinner, 8 o'clock. A car will come for you." No signature, no explanation, but I knew who it was from. I told myself I wouldn't go. I told myself it was insane to get into a car sent by a man I didn't know, no matter how powerful he was. But at 7:30, I was standing in front of my closet, hands trembling, pulling out the only dress I owned that felt even remotely appropriate. Because despite everything, despite the fear, the confusion, the warnings in Lily's voice, I wanted to see him again. I needed to understand why. The car arrived exactly at 8. The driver said nothing as I slid into the back seat. The interior was spotless, luxurious, the kind of wealth that felt suffocating. We drove through the city in silence, leaving behind the familiar streets and moving into the hills where the old families lived. Mansions rose up on either side, hidden behind gates and trees. Finally, we stopped. The driver opened my door, and I stepped out onto a stone driveway that led to a sprawling villa. Warm light spilled from the windows. The air smelled like jasmine and rain. My heart pounded as I walked toward the entrance. The door opened before I could knock, and there he was, Dante Moretti. He stood in the doorway, dressed in black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking somehow more dangerous without the formal suit. His dark eyes swept over me, lingering just long enough to make my skin flush. "You came," he said quietly. "I don't know why," I admitted. His mouth curved just barely. "Neither do I." He stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. I walked past him, pulse racing, into a home that felt more like a fortress.
You can't just walk away like this.
High ceilings, dark wood, elegant but cold. He led me through the hall into a dining room where a table had been set for 2. Candles flickered. Wine waited. "Sit," he said. It wasn't a command. But it wasn't a request either. I sat. He took the seat across from me, studying me with that same unreadable intensity. "Why am I here?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Because I wanted you here." That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. I swallowed hard. "You said I should stay away from you." "You should." "Then why?" "Because I can't." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and undeniable. I stared at him, my heart racing. "Can't what?" His jaw tightened. "Stay away from you." He didn't touch his food. Neither did I. We sat across from each other in that grand, silent dining room, the weight of unspoken things pressing down like a storm about to break. "I don't understand," I said finally. "You don't know me." "No. So why?" Because when I saw you last night, he interrupted quietly, dancing with him. Something in me decided you were already mine. My breath caught. That's insane, I whispered. I know. You can't just... I can. His eyes never left mine, and I realized with a jolt of fear that he meant it, completely. I'm no one, I said, voice shaking. I work in a bookstore. I don't belong in your world. Good. I blinked. What? This world destroys soft things, he said, his voice low and rough. It would destroy you. Then let me leave. I can't. Why not? He leaned forward, elbows on the table, his gaze burning into mine. Because the moment I touched you, the moment I claimed that song, everyone in that room saw it. They know you're under my protection now, and if I let you walk away, they'll see it as weakness. My heart slammed against my ribs. Protection from what? From men like Marco. From families who would use you to get to me. From a world that doesn't forgive innocence. I shook my head, panic rising. I didn't ask for this. I know. Then take it back. I can't. His voice was final. Absolute. I pushed back from the table, standing on shaking legs. This is insane. I'm leaving. He didn't move. Didn't try to stop me. But his voice followed me as I turned toward the door. If you leave now, someone will follow you. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow. But they'll come, and I won't be there to stop them. I froze. Slowly, I turned back. He was watching me, expression unreadable, but something dark flickered in his eyes. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. Because you deserve to know what choosing to walk away means. My hands trembled. And if I stay? His gaze softened just barely. Then I'll keep you safe. Why would you do that? He stood, moving around the table with that same predatory grace. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. Because I don't know how not to, he said quietly. And then he reached out slowly, carefully, and touched my face. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, so gentle it made my chest ache. You're afraid of me, he murmured. I nodded, unable to lie. Good, he said. You should be. But his touch didn't feel dangerous. It felt like the only solid thing in a world that had just tilted sideways. He didn't ask me to stay the night, but he didn't let me leave alone either. The car took me home with a different driver, one who didn't speak but whose presence felt like a shadow I couldn't shake. When I finally stepped into my apartment, Lily was waiting. Where the hell have you been? She demanded, eyes wide. I sank onto the couch, hands still shaking. I met him. Who? Her face went pale. Dante Moretti. I nodded. Emilia, what did you do? I didn't do anything, I whispered. I was just there. She sat beside me, gripping my hands. You need to stay away from him. People like him, they don't fall in love. Emilia, they own, they control. And if you get tangled up in his world, I think I already am. Her face crumpled. Then God help you. For 3 days, I didn't hear from him. No cars, no notes, no midnight visits. I told myself I was relieved. I told myself I'd been given a second chance to walk away. But every time the bookstore door opened, my heart jumped. Every time my phone buzzed, I checked it too quickly. I hated that I was waiting. On the 4th day, a man came into the store. He was older, gray-haired, with cold eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. He browsed the shelves for a while, then approached the counter where I stood. You must be Emilia, he said pleasantly. I froze. Do I know you? Not yet. He leaned against the counter. But I know Dante Moretti. My pulse spiked. Don't lie, sweetheart. Half the city saw him cut in on your dance. The other half heard about it by morning. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. What do you want? Just to give you some advice. His smile sharpened. Men like Dante don't protect, they possess. And when they're done with you, and they always get done, you'll wish you'd never caught their eye. He slid a business card across the counter. When that happens, he said quietly, call me. I'll make sure you disappear before he can. And then he left. I stared down at the card. Hands trembling. Vincent Calabrese, private security. I threw it in the trash the moment he was gone. But I couldn't throw away the fear. That night, I came home to find a man standing outside my apartment building. Tall, broad, familiar. Not Dante. His driver. Miss Frost, he said calmly. Mr. Moretti requests your presence. It's 11 o'clock at night. Yes. I wanted to say no. I wanted to slam the door and pretend none of this was happening, but the memory of Vincent Calabrese's smile made my skin crawl, so I got in the car. This time, we didn't go to the villa. We drove to the docks, silent and dark, the water black and glittering under distant lights. The car stopped beside a warehouse, and the driver opened my door without a word. I stepped out, heart pounding, and then I saw him. Dante stood near the edge of the pier, hands in his pockets, staring out at the water. He didn't turn when I approached, but I knew he'd heard me. You've been followed, he said quietly. My stomach dropped. What? Calabrese sent someone to your store, then to your apartment. His jaw tightened. He's trying to make you afraid. It's working, I whispered. He turned then, his eyes meeting mine in the darkness. Did he touch you? No. Did he threaten you? Not directly. His expression hardened. That's a threat. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold. Why is this happening? I don't even know these people. Because I made you visible. His voice was rough, edged with something that sounded almost like regret. And now they think they can use you. To do what? To get to me. I stared at him, fear twisting in my chest. Then let me go. Tell them I mean nothing to you. His eyes darkened. I can't do that. Why not? He stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the tension in his shoulders, the barely controlled fury in his gaze. Because it wouldn't be true, he said quietly. My breath caught. You don't even know me, I whispered. I know enough. Like what? His hand lifted, hesitating just inches from my face before finally brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. I know you didn't run when you should have, he murmured. I know you came tonight even though you were afraid. I know you're stronger than you think. I'm not strong, I said, voice breaking. I'm terrified. I know. Then why? Because you're still here. And God help me. I didn't know how to argue with that. He didn't let me go home that night. It's not safe, he said simply, leading me back to the car. Where are we going? Somewhere Calabrese can't reach. I wanted to argue. I wanted to demand answers, explanations, promises that this nightmare would end. But I was too tired, too scared, so I let him take me. The safe house was smaller than his villa but no less secure. High walls, cameras, guards I didn't see but knew were there. Inside, it was quiet and warm, decorated in soft neutrals that felt almost normal. Dante led me upstairs to a bedroom with a large bed and windows that overlooked the garden. You'll stay here, he said. No one knows about this place except my most trusted men. For how long? Until I've handled Calabrese. Handled? I turned to face him, pulse racing. What does that mean? His expression didn't change. It means you don't need to worry about him anymore. Dante. Get some rest, Amelia. He turned to leave, but I grabbed his arm without thinking. He froze. I dropped my hand immediately, heat flooding my face. I'm sorry. What? I swallowed hard. I don't want to be alone. Something flickered in his eyes. Something raw and unguarded. I'll be downstairs, he said quietly. That's not what I know what you meant. His gaze held mine, and I saw the war happening behind his eyes. The control, the restraint. If I stay, he said, voice low and rough, I won't be able to stop myself from touching you. My heart slammed against my ribs. And you're not ready for that, he continued. Not yet. How do you know? His jaw tightened. Because you're shaking. I realized he was right. My hands were trembling, my breath unsteady. But it wasn't fear. Not anymore. Get some sleep, Amelia, he said again, softer this time. And then he left. I stood there in the quiet room, heart racing, skin burning where he'd almost touched me. And I realized with a sharp, undeniable ache, I didn't want him to go. I woke in the middle of the night to the sound of voices downstairs. Low, tense, angry. I slipped out of bed, pulling on the robe someone had left folded on the chair, and crept toward the door. Don't care what he wants, Dante's voice cut through the silence. Calabrese touches her, and he's dead. He's already positioned men near her apartment, another voice replied. If we move now, then we move. Dante, if you start a war over a girl, she's not just a girl. Silence. My chest tightened. Then what is she? The other man asked carefully. Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know yet, Dante said finally, voice rough. But she's mine. I pressed my hand to my mouth, heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. The next morning, I found him in the kitchen. He stood at the counter, dressed in dark jeans and a black shirt, pouring coffee like this was normal, like I hadn't heard him declare ownership of me in the middle of the night. Did you sleep? He asked without turning. Not really. He glanced over his shoulder, eyes scanning my face. Nightmares? Something like that. He set down the coffee pot and turned fully to face me. Tell me. I hesitated. I heard you last night, talking to someone. His expression didn't change. And you said I was yours. His jaw tightened. Yes. Why? Because you are. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. I stepped closer. Frustration and something hotter rising in my chest. You can't just claim someone, Dante. That's not how it works. In my world, it is. Well, I'm not from your world. You are now. The certainty in his voice made my breath catch. I didn't ask for this, I whispered. I know. Then let me go. No. The word was final. Absolute. I stared at him, trembling, caught between fear and something I didn't have a name for. You're a monster, I said quietly. His eyes darkened. I know. Then why do I feel safe with you? He went still. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then he crossed the space between us in 2 strides and cupped my face in his hands, rough palms, gentle touch. Because you see something in me no one else does, he murmured. What? His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and I stopped breathing. Something worth saving, he said quietly. And then finally he kissed me. His mouth was warm and firm and impossibly gentle. I froze at first, shock stealing my breath, my thoughts, everything but the feel of him. But then his hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back, and something inside me broke open. I kissed him back, hesitant, trembling, but I kissed him. He made a low sound in his throat, something between a groan and a sigh, and pulled me closer, deepening the kiss until I felt it in every nerve, every breath. When he finally pulled back, I was shaking. I shouldn't have done that, he said roughly. But his hands didn't leave my face. Why not? Because now I won't be able to stop. Maybe I don't want you to. His eyes flared. Emilia. I'm not made of glass, I whispered. I'm scared, but I'm not fragile. You are to me. The words hit me like a blow. He stepped back, dragging a hand through his hair, jaw tight with restraint. I need you to understand something, he said quietly. The things I've done. The man I am. If you knew, tell me. No. Why not? Because I don't want you to look at me the way everyone else does. My chest ached. And how do they look at you? Like a monster. I moved closer, slowly, until I was standing right in front of him. I already called you that, I said softly. And I'm still here. His hands curled into fists at his sides, like he was physically holding himself back. You should be afraid of me, he said. I am. Then why? Because I'm more afraid of what happens if I leave. His eyes closed, something like pain flickering across his face. Emilia, don't push me away, I whispered. Please. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then his hand lifted, hesitant and careful, and touched my face. I don't know how to do this, he admitted quietly. Do what? Care about someone. My breath hitched. Then we'll figure it out together, I said. And when he kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, I felt the exact moment he stopped fighting it. We spent the day together, not talking about Calabrese, or the danger, or the life I'd left behind, just existing in the same space. He made me breakfast. I teased him about burning the toast. He smiled, really smiled, and something in my chest cracked open. In the afternoon, he worked at his desk while I curled up on the couch with a book. Every so often, I'd glance up and find him watching me. Expression unreadable, but eyes warm. What? I asked finally. Nothing. You're staring. I'm aware. Heat crept up my neck. Why? He set down his pen, leaning back in his chair. Because I'm trying to figure out how you ended up here. You brought me here. That's not what I mean. I closed the book. Then what do you mean? He was quiet for a long moment. I mean, I don't understand how someone like you exists in a world like this, he said finally. How you can look at me knowing what I am and not run. Maybe I don't know what you are, I said softly. You know enough. Then tell me the rest. His jaw tightened. No. Why not? Because once you know, you won't look at me like that anymore. Like what? Like I'm worth something. The words broke my heart. I stood, crossing the room until I was standing in front of his desk. Dunchi. Don't, he said roughly. Don't try to fix me, Amelia. I'm not something that can be saved. I'm not trying to fix you, I whispered. I'm just trying to understand you. His eyes met mine, dark and raw and full of something I didn't have a name for. Why? He asked. Because I stopped, throat tight. Because you what? I swallowed hard. Because when I'm with you, I feel like I can breathe. Even when I'm scared, even when nothing makes sense, you make me feel safe. He stood abruptly, rounding the desk in 2 strides. His hands framed my face, and his forehead dropped to mine. You shouldn't feel safe with me, he said hoarsely. I know. I've killed men, Amelia. I've destroyed lives. I've built an empire on blood and fear. I know. Then why? Because none of that changes the way you look at me, I whispered. Like I'm something precious. Like I matter. His breath shuddered. You do matter, he said roughly. More than you should. And then he kissed me again, harder this time. Desperate, and I let him. Because I was done pretending I didn't want this. That night, something shifted. We had dinner together, quiet, comfortable, but the air between us felt charged. Every glance lingered. Every accidental touch sent sparks racing under my skin. When he stood to clear the plates, I caught his wrist. He froze. Stay, I said softly. His eyes met mine, dark and unreadable. Amelia, I'm not asking you to do anything, I whispered. I just don't want to be alone tonight. His jaw tightened. If I stay, I won't be able to keep my hands off you. My pulse jumped. Maybe I don't want you to. His breath caught. You don't know what you're saying, he said roughly. Yes, I do. You're scared. I am, I admitted, but not of you. Then what? I swallowed hard. Of how much I want this. Something broke in his expression. He pulled me to my feet, hands gripping my waist, eyes searching mine like he was looking for permission or a reason to stop. Tell me to leave, he said hoarsely. Tell me to walk away. I shook my head. No, Amelia. I trust you, I whispered, and that was all it took. He kissed me deep and consuming, and I felt the last of his control shatter. His hands slid up my back, into my hair, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. I gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, kissing me harder, deeper, until I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but feel. Upstairs, he murmured against my lips. I nodded, trembling. He took my hand and led me up the stairs, each step making my heart race faster. When we reached the bedroom, he closed the door behind us and turned to face me. For a moment, he just looked at me. You can still say no, he said quietly. I don't want to. If I do something you don't like, I'll tell you. His eyes darkened. Promise me. I promise. He stepped closer, hands framing my face, and kissed me again, slower this time. Softer, like he was memorizing the feel of me. I don't deserve you, he murmured against my mouth. That's not your decision to make. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. I nodded, throat tight. I'm sure. And then finally he let go. His touch was gentle, almost reverent. He undressed me slowly, carefully, like I was something fragile. His hands trembled slightly as he traced the curve of my waist, the line of my collarbone, the hollow of my throat. You're beautiful, he whispered. I flushed, suddenly self-conscious. Dante, don't, he said softly. Don't hide from me. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to meet his eyes. The heat in his gaze nearly undid me. He guided me to the bed, his movements careful, controlled. When he settled beside me, his hand cupped my face, thumb brushing across my cheek. If I hurt you, you won't. If you change your mind, I won't. His jaw tightened. Amelia. I kissed him. It was clumsy and hesitant, and probably not sexy at all, but it was mine. And when he groaned against my mouth and pulled me closer, I knew it was enough. He made love to me like I was something sacred. Every touch was deliberate. Every kiss felt like a promise. He murmured my name like a prayer, his voice rough and raw, and I clung to him like he was the only solid thing in a world spinning too fast. I wasn't confident. I wasn't experienced. I didn't know what I was doing, but he didn't seem to care. He guided me gently, patiently, his hands steady even when mine shook. And when I finally fell apart in his arms, he held me through it, whispering things I couldn't quite hear but felt in my bones. Afterward, we lay tangled together in the darkness, his arm around my waist, his breath warm against my neck. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, throat tight. "Amelia, I'm okay," I whispered. "I promise." His arm tightened around me. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "How to be gentle." "You were," I said softly. "You are." He pressed his face into my hair, and I felt him exhale slow and shaky. "I don't want to hurt you," he murmured. "You won't." "I already have." I turned in his arms, meeting his eyes in the darkness. "What do you mean?" His jaw tightened. "By dragging you into this. By making you a target. By—" I kissed him, cutting off the words. When I pulled back, his eyes were wide, vulnerable. "Stop punishing yourself," I whispered. "I chose this. I chose you." His hand lifted, trembling, and touched my face. "Why?" he asked hoarsely. "Because you make me feel alive," I said. "Even when I'm terrified, even when nothing makes sense. You make me feel like I matter." Something broke in his expression. He kissed me again, desperate, hungry, and I let him, because I was done pretending I didn't need this. Need him. I woke to the sound of gunfire. Not close, but close enough. I bolted upright, heart slamming into my ribs, and reached for Dante. But the bed was empty. Panic flooded through me. I threw on clothes and ran downstairs, barefoot, pulse racing. The house was in chaos. Men moved through the hall armed, tense, speaking in low, clipped voices. I recognized Dante's second-in-command, a man named Luca, barking orders near the door. "Where is he?" I demanded. Luca turned, eyes widening. "You need to stay upstairs." "Where is Dante?" "Miss Frost." "Tell me." He hesitated, then cursed under his breath. "Calabrese hit one of our safe houses. Dante went to deal with it." My stomach dropped. "Alone?" "He's not alone, but he left orders to keep you here, safe." "I don't care about his orders," I snapped. "Where is he?" Luca stared at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. "I'll take you." The warehouse was burning. Smoke billowed into the night sky, orange flames licking at the edges of the building. Cars were scattered across the lot, some still running, doors open, like people had fled in a hurry. I stepped out of the car, throat tight, and Luca grabbed my arm. "Stay behind me," he said. "Do not move unless I tell you to." I nodded mutely. We moved through the chaos, past shouting men, past bodies I didn't let myself look at too closely, until we reached the center of the lot. And there he was. Dante. He stood in the middle of the destruction, suit jacket discarded, shirt streaked with blood, gun still in his hand. And at his feet, kneeling, was Vincent Calabrese. "You made a mistake," Dante said quietly. Calabrese spat blood onto the ground. "You think this is over? You think killing me will end it?" "No," Dante said. "But it'll make me feel better." He raised the gun. "Dante." My voice cut through the night. He froze. Slowly, he turned, and when his eyes found mine, something in his expression shattered. "Amelia, don't," I whispered, stepping forward despite Luca's protest. "Don't do this. He tried to kill you." "I know. He would have taken you, hurt you, used you." "I know." "Then why are you stopping me?" I swallowed hard, trembling. Because if you do this, if you kill him in front of me, I'll see it every time I look at you." His jaw tightened. "I need you to see the monster, Amelia," he said hoarsely. "I need you to understand what I am." "I already do." "No, you don't." "Yes," I said, voice breaking. "I do, and I'm still here." For a long moment, he didn't move. Then he lowered the gun. Calabrese laughed bitter, broken. "You're weak, Moretti. All because of a girl." Dante's expression went cold. "I'm not weak," he said quietly. "I'm just done wasting bullets." He turned to Luca. "Take him to the Rossettas. Tell them he's their problem now." Luca nodded, dragging Calabrese away. And then Dante was crossing the lot toward me, eyes locked on mine. When he reached me, he stopped, close enough to touch but not touching. "You shouldn't have come," he said roughly. "I know. You shouldn't have seen that." "I know." His hand lifted, hesitating just inches from my face. "I'm covered in blood," he said quietly. "I don't care." "You should." "I don't." Something broke in his expression. He pulled me into his arms hard and desperate, and I clung to him, breathing in smoke and copper and the scent that was just him. "I'm sorry," he whispered into my hair. "For what?" "For dragging you into this. For making you see." "Stop," I said, pulling back just enough to meet his eyes. "I chose this. I chose you. And I'm not going anywhere." His eyes closed, and I felt his breath shudder. "I don't deserve you," he said hoarsely. "Too bad," I whispered. "You're stuck with me." And when he kissed me there in the middle of the burning wreckage, it felt like a vow. We didn't go back to the safe house. Dante took me to the villa instead, the sprawling estate where I'd first had dinner with him. It felt like a lifetime ago. Inside, he disappeared upstairs to shower, and I stood in the grand entryway, still trembling, still trying to process what I'd just witnessed. Luca appeared beside me, expression unreadable. "You shouldn't have interfered," he said quietly. I stiffened. He was going to kill him. Calabrese deserved it. Maybe. But Dante didn't need that on his conscience. Luca studied me for a long moment. "You really care about him?" "Yes." "Why?" I looked up at him, surprised. "Why do you?" He blinked. "Because he's loyal," Luca said finally. "Because he protects his own. Because he's the only man in this city who hasn't sold his soul." "Then you already know why I care," I said softly. Luca's mouth curved just barely. "You're braver than I thought." "I'm terrified," I admitted. "But I'd rather be terrified with him than safe without him." He nodded slowly. "Then you'll survive this world." Dante found me an hour later, standing in the library, staring out at the garden. He was clean now, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt, but exhaustion lined his face. "You should be resting," he said quietly. "So should you." He crossed the room, stopping beside me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "I meant what I said," I said finally. "I'm not leaving." His jaw tightened. "You should." "I know. This life, it's violence and blood and danger. Always." "I know." "Then why?" "Because I love you." The words hung in the air between us, raw and undeniable. He went utterly still. "Amelia, I know I shouldn't," I whispered. "I know it's insane, but I do." He turned to face me, eyes dark and full of something I couldn't name. "You don't know what you're saying," he said hoarsely. "Yes, I do. If you stay with me, you'll always be in danger, always looking over your shoulder, always wondering if today is the day someone decides to use you against me." "I know." "Then why would you choose that?" I reached up, touching his face, and felt him lean into my palm. "Because being without you would be worse," I said softly. His eyes closed. "I don't know how to keep you safe," he admitted. "Then we'll figure it out together." He opened his eyes, and I saw the war still raging behind them. "I love you," he said roughly. "God help me, I love you. And I don't know how to protect you from that." My heart stuttered. "You don't have to protect me from it," I whispered. "Just don't push me away." He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. "I won't," he murmured into my hair. "I promise." And for the first time since this nightmare began, I believed him. We spent the next few days in careful isolation. Dante worked from the villa, handling his business through phone calls and encrypted messages. I stayed close, reading in the library or wandering the gardens, always within sight. He touched me constantly now, small, unconscious gestures, a hand on my back as he passed, fingers threading through mine while we sat in silence. His mouth pressed to my forehead when he thought I was asleep. It wasn't possessive, it was grounding, like he needed to remind himself I was real. One evening, I found him standing in his office, staring out the window at the darkening sky. "What's wrong?" I asked. He didn't turn. "I'm ending the partnership with the Rossities." I blinked. "Why?" "Because they want something I'm not willing to give." "What?" He turned, eyes meeting mine. "You." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "They think you're leverage," he said quietly. "That as long as you're with me, they can control me. And you're ending the partnership because of that?" "Yes." "Dante, that's your livelihood." "I don't care." The certainty in his voice stole my breath. "You matter more," he said simply. And when he kissed me, slow and deep, I felt the weight of that promise settle into my bones. The Rossetti family came 3 days later. I heard the cars before I saw them, black SUVs rolling up the long driveway, stopping in perfect formation outside the villa. Dante stood at the window, expression unreadable. "Stay upstairs," he said quietly. "No." He turned, eyes sharp. "Amelia." "I'm not hiding," I said. "Not anymore." His jaw tightened. "If something goes wrong, then we handle it together." For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he nodded. "Stay behind me." The Rossettis were exactly what I expected. 3 men in expensive suits, flanked by armed guards, standing in Dante's entryway like they owned it. The one in the center, silver-haired, cold-eyed, smiled when he saw me. "So this is the girl," he said. "The one worth burning bridges for." Dante stepped in front of me, blocking his view. "Say what you came to say, Rossetti. You're making a mistake, Moretti. Ending our partnership over a woman. I'm ending it because you overstepped." Rossetti's smile sharpened. "Did I, or did you just finally show weakness?" "Careful," Dante said quietly. "You used to be untouchable," Rossetti continued. "Now you're soft, distracted, and that makes you vulnerable." "If you're done posturing," Dante said, voice cold, "you can leave." Rossetti's eyes flicked to me. "She won't last, you know. This life will break her, and when it does, you'll have destroyed everything for nothing. Get out," Dante said. "Or what?" Rossetti stepped closer. "You'll kill me? Start a war? All for a girl who'll leave you the moment she sees who you really are?" "She already knows who I am," Dante said quietly. "And she's still here." Rossetti's smile faltered. "Then you're both fools," he said. And then he left. The silence afterward was deafening. Dante stood in the center of the room, hands clenched at his sides, staring at the door like he could still see them. "Dante. He's right," he said hoarsely. I blinked. "What?" "You should leave, before this destroys you." "No." "Amelia." "No," I said again, crossing the room to stand in front of him. "I'm not leaving. I'm not running. And I'm not going to let you push me away because you're scared." His eyes met mine, raw and unguarded. "I don't want to be the reason you get hurt," he said quietly. "You're not," I whispered. "You're the reason I feel alive." His breath shuddered. "I love you," he said roughly. "More than I should. More than is safe. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to keep you safe. I know." He pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was the only thing keeping him tethered. "We'll figure it out," I whispered into his chest. "Together," he murmured. And I believed him. Epilogue. 6 months later. The villa felt like home now. Not because it was safe, it never truly would be, but because Dante was there. We'd built something fragile and fierce in the months since the Rossettis had left. A life balanced on the edge of danger and tenderness. A love that shouldn't have survived but did. Dante had restructured his empire, cutting ties with families who saw me as weakness. It had cost him, but he'd never flinched. And I'd learned to live in his world, learned the weight of silence, the art of reading a room, the necessity of trust. One evening, I found him standing in the garden, staring out at the city lights below. "What are you thinking?" I asked, slipping my hand into his. He glanced down at me, mouth curving, that I never thought I'd have this. Have what? Peace. I leaned into his side, and he wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close. It won't last forever, I said quietly. Someone will always come for us. I know. Does that scare you? He looked down at me, eyes soft. No, because I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe. And if you can't? His jaw tightened. Then I'll burn the world down trying. I should have been afraid of that promise, but I wasn't, because I knew deep in my bones that he meant it. And as dangerous as that was, as impossible as this love should have been, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not safety, not certainty, not even peace. Because loving Dante Moretti meant living on the edge of chaos, and I'd never felt more alive.